Tuesday on Daily Delivery. Michael Rand here. Patrick Reusse joins me as usual a day later because of the holiday, of course. Patrick, do you have a good Labor Day? Couldn't have asked for much better weather wise. I think
Oh
this
my,
weekend.
that Thursday night gully washer with the lightning and driving rain was the greatest thing that ever happened in the Twin Cities. The next 4 days were fantastic. I'm glad I didn't have to go to the state fair, though. I understand that by the weekend you couldn't move if you wanted to. There were hundreds of thousands of people descending on that stupid thing. It
Yes.
was everybody was out and about. You had the state fair, you had the Renaissance Festival, where I wouldn't go if you shoved hot coals in my ears, and then the state baseball in Jordan yesterday. I was down there Sunday, but in yesterday they had 2,200 for their title Class C title game, and that ballpark 2,200. That means a lot of people are sitting on the hill, man. So anyway, yeah, it was a fantastic weekend here in Minnesota. But boy, was that a quick summer, man. Oof. The older you get, the quicker the summers go. I'll tell you that. So anyway.
Yeah, it felt about right to me summer wise. I feel like we got a lot of summer this year, but we when you have three little kids, the summer kind of moves slow and fast at different times. But I can confirm we went to the fair Sunday and it was wall to wall. Wasn't too bad. We went like afternoon and evening, so it wasn't as bad probably as if we'd gone, late morning and stuff like that. But it was packed. There's some points like there's a pinch point out there kind of by the corn, and if you get stuck up in the corn
Yeah.
in that pinch spot right there, you aren't moving. And we had a stroller too because we carry stuff around in it, and sometimes the kids will want to ride in it still. So that makes us a burden out there. I actually, after reading your piece on town ball and on the amateur tournament, we almost went yesterday. We just kind of ran out of time. We almost went to Jordan because that wouldn't have been too bad of a drive. It would have been a nice day. But I saw Waconia won, right? They beat Jordan
Yeah,
in the
Laconia
title game.
upset them. Yes, they won the first ever title for Laconia, and they beat them. And then B, which didn't get much pub at all, Meadville was the only non-city team left in the final eight because they merged, the A and B last year,
Yep.
and Air Freight had won it last year, the first year of it, and they 10 run to Air Freight on Sunday, beat them
Wow.
12-1. So yeah, Meadville and Waconia. Meadville's eighth title or something, and first ever for Waconia. But yeah, it was kind of a surprise. Everybody thought Jordan was the winner, but they knocked around the Jordan pitcher, and Waconia beat him. They got a great ballpark too. They helped host the tournament 2-3 years ago. So we don't look at them as one of those country rural towns, but they got a good town team baseball thing going. So yeah, it was a great. The whole thing went well. I don't think they didn't have much rain problems, and that's always a big thing. The 3 weekends of the state tournament, but when I was there Sunday about noon. The game started at 11. The Jordan fellas told me that during the tournament, they'd already sold 3,000 hamburgers at the
Wow.
concession stand, and they were still hustling them out all weekend. So they might have got to 4,000 hamburgers at Jordan, which would have probably been a tournament record. So.
Probably sold a few beers too.
Oh yeah, yeah. That's the state board keeps all the money for the ticket sales, but
Okay.
what the teams that host get, or the organizations that host, is they get to keep the concessions, and the highest profit concessions is, of course, beer, because you
Yes.
can hand a guy a can of beer. You don't have there's no labor involved in beer,
No.
right?
No.
Here's a
No.
beer. Go ahead, take the beer.
Right.
So,
Right. Here's a
anyway,
beer.
it's
Yes.
they had a good year. Next year they're going back to three classes, which is idiotic, but that's they the The state board is a very political body, and they change their minds all the time, and they hate success. If you win too often, they're going to try to figure out to make you stop winning. I always said that when in the 1970s, when my guy from St. Cloud, Dick Putz, who was a friend of mine but a tyrant, was the head of the state board, he hated Hamel Hawks more than he hated Nazi Germany. So anyway, that's the summary of the state baseball tournament.
Well, there were plenty of other winners and losers this weekend. I want to get to the Twins in a minute. Gopher volleyball, a huge upset win.
Wow, yeah,
last night
nice.
over Texas. I'll get to that. Go ahead.
Nice to see them back, man. That was they gave Stanford five sets?
Five sets too. Yeah.
5 sets with Stanford. You had the 3 best teams in the country probably at that tournament, Wisconsin being the third. And then the Gophers all of a sudden jump into it, and it took a year. They were kind of a confused and then they lost Carter Booth before the start of last season, and they've now lost Lanphier before the start of this season. But that's good. That's good. There's no more enjoyable sport on campus than Gopher volleyball when they're playing well, and they have played well forever. And last year was probably their biggest clunker in a long time. It doesn't sound like are they redshirting the 2 freshmen?
I don't
know. Sam Seliger Swenson's sisters, the twins. I don't know if they played much, but. I'm interested in that because they're supposed to be great. But what the heck? It was great. And they keep playing, though. They don't, you know who they don't play? They don't play Rhode Island. They don't play in Rhode Island. And they don't ask people to come and watch Rhode Island. Their non-conference schedule is brutal. Although they do have a St. Thomas match this year, which will not be good for St. Thomas, right? Oof,
no. But to your point, their non-conference is a little bit more challenging. Gophers football can probably use a nice little respite. I went to that game Thursday last week. That was one of the offense rough.
Games.
It was not good.
That was one of the most boring, close football games I've ever seen in my life. It was awful. It was both. North Carolina's terrible, and Brad Johnson's kid was bad. And but you found out why he was playing when they put the other guy in.
Right,
he couldn't complete a pass out across my living room. The second guy that played, and of course. You know what we found out in that game, Mike, though? That's why you call timeout if you got one left before the guy tries to kick a winning field goal. Because if they just let Gesich go out there and kick it, he would have made it. They called the timeout. He thought about it, and you could see him thinking about it as he stood there for a minute. So, and that was a nice little fade on it at the end, and the Gophers got exactly what they deserved, a defeat. So anyway, that's my opinion on that. So, but bring on Rhode Island. Bring on Rhode Island. Although our guy Max, short, slow Max, is got lost to Rhode Island last year. So, he was 2-0 before that, but then he lost to Rhode Island last year, and he threw for 400 and some yards, but he lost to Rhode Island. So
we got to open it up. We got to throw more. I thought we were going to throw more. We didn't throw enough.
We're not going to throw more. He's got 5 320-pounders up front, and when he gets Darius Teller back, they're going to throw 8 passes a game. There's never been a better reason. There's never been a better reason not to pass than this year. So anyway.
That's true. You got to go with what got you there. Hey, let's stick with football before we get to the Twins. Mark Craig's excellent story on Mike Zimmer, the end of his tenure with the Vikings. I had heard that the stuff he got was pretty good. Because obviously he went there a few weeks ago, and so you kind of talking to him a little bit, talking to the other Vikings guys. But man, you don't
If I
usually
was
see
the-
you don't
I,
usually see an active coach. He's still coaching. He's
yeah,
defensive coordinator of the Cowboys. You don't usually see an active coach talk like that about players, team, stuff like that. But that was something else.
if I was an editor, there's no way I would have had the patience to hold that story and trusted that he wouldn't tell somebody else because that stuff was fantastic. And Mark had it, and the rumor is, and I didn't talk to Mark. I just sent him congratulations, but I didn't talk to him. But the rumor was that when they set up the interview, they told him, "Now Zimmer's not going to talk about
Really?
about the end of his time with the Vikings." And obviously, Craig, who had a great relationship with
Right.
Zimmer because they, a couple of crusty old football guys, and obviously Zimmer couldn't shut him up about his.
Right.
Craig couldn't shut him up about his
Right.
state. Now I heard that the Vikings were whining. Why were they whining? I mean, it explains to everyone why they fired him.
Yes.
Why are they whining about this thing? So I don't know. But it was great. It was one of the best pieces we've had in the Star Tribune. And I came here in June of '88, and that was one of the 5 best we've ever had. And I don't know what the other 4 were. So it was fantastic. It was a national story, and it was great. And he left no prisoners. And obviously, but the real thing is how candid he was about how his buddies like Terrence Newman and those guys turned on him, and how bitter he was about that. And it was it was something else. It was great.
Well, it
And
was
now,
like it was
now the
open.
Viking fan base who basically they didn't really turn that viciously on Zim. Now it was all Zim's fault. It was all Zim was the problem, and what a terrible toxic relationship clubhouse or locker room they invented. The fans are all anti-Zim. Viking fan base, second biggest collection of homers in town, next to the Wild, of course. So it's unbelievable what a collection of homers they are. I love going back to the days when the fan base were guys who grew up in the '70s, and we were all bitter because of 4 Super Bowl losses, and we didn't sugarcoat everything. We expected the worst. And then Randy Moss changed everything in '98, and everybody became homers again. We've been homers on the Vikings for about 25, 30 years now. So
My favorite part was that it confirmed a lot of the things that we knew and saw with our own eyes, right? Behind the scenes, like the relationship with Cousins. Like we knew that, but how he felt about it when they drafted him.
I support Zim on thinking Kirk Cousins was dunderhead. But anyway.
Yeah, I do too. I'm with him, but you also have to coach the guy that you're given. Like the bitterness lingering for so long that it gets in the way of trying to field a competitive team or adapt in some way is amazing.
The funniest thing is he couldn't get over wasting a 3rd-round draft choice on Kellen Mond, so he wouldn't talk to Kellen Mond.
And wouldn't talk to Spielman like the whole last year.
It's not Kellen Mond's fault that they were stupid enough to draft him in the 3rd round. Don't take it out on him.
No.
It was amazing. But it was fantastic. It was a classic, and I give Mark credit for being able to sit on it that long. I would never have been able to sit on that thing. It was incredible.
No, and it was, I think too, that you can tell Zimmer is still bitter about it and was opening up all the way when he kept Chris Boyd gets caught up in it. Like Chris Boyd's name gets mentioned as someone he's mad about. Like, come on, what did Chris Boyd do? Why do we have to bring Chris Boyd into this? So
no. Did Chris Boyd shoot off his mouth about him too? And
I don't remember.
But he might have said, when everybody's going, when Zim gets fired, everybody's going around the locker room and
right.
Who's the Who's the guy who wouldn't say hello to and walking down the? Was it O'Neill or who?
Oh yeah. Oh, O'Neill was the one that was that
Yeah,
wanted to
you
say
didn't
hi
say hi
say
to
hi in
me.
the hallway. Say hi in
Hallway,
the
yeah.
hallways. That's
Yeah.
right. Oh
Yeah.
man.
Well,
Yeah.
anyway, I think also, I mean, I mean, he was, when he got here, his wife he'd gone through his
Yeah.
whole life thing,
Of
and that was
course.
something, but
Son. Yeah.
see his son die in alcoholism was a tough thing on him.
100%.
But now he's back, and we'll see. I mean, it's going to be interesting. Dallas has always got great defensive players who don't always play up to their potential. So we'll see how it goes for him. But I'm sure he's now going to be sick of being asked that same question every
Yeah.
time somebody goes to him. They're all going to
Right.
want to review that because that was a one-off for him, I think. Don't you? Mark Craig's there. Here's a guy he gets along with.
Right. Yes.
I would say, and you know, he's telling Craig this stuff not in any way off the record. Otherwise,
No, of course not.
Craig
No.
wouldn't have wrote it.
Of course.
Otherwise, Craig would have wrote it. So that was, it's definitely, Gophers opening, Twins playing, blah blah blah. The Zimmer story is the number one thing we've had going around here in quite a while. So it was incredible.
It was tremendous, and it was as much as I'm looking forward to Vikings versus Falcons this year, Cowboys versus Falcons will be almost as good when Zimmer gets to go against his old buddy Kirk Cousins later this year.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Twins, Patrick, it was a rough homestand, but they pull out the Sunday game. Royce Lewis hits that 3-run home run. Mm-hmm. And then they win again yesterday. They're piecing it together. The starting pitching it's really starting to catch up to him, but they pieced it together with the bullpen yesterday.
Simeon Richardson starts pitching 3 innings, you're really in trouble. That's two of the last 3 have been really clunkers, right? And
I think 5 of the last 9 have been less than 5 innings too.
And he's getting the early hook, which is putting more pressure on the bullpen, which is anyway. And yesterday they kind of schlepped that one together, as you say, and went at 5-4. And they had the opportunity to score more runs than that, but of course Zach Littell was the starter against them. He'd been starting all year, and then he was out for a while. And but this is not the Tampa Bay beating the odds low payroll team of the last 15 years. It was this is a bad club that doesn't hit. So I don't know. I guess the fact that Boston is, they had a 6-game losing streak, and it's they're not going to get caught if nobody's chasing them. And Kansas City has just lost 6
in a row. Yeah, they caught up to the Guardians, and then right after that they went in the tank.
Yeah, they caught the Guardians, went ahead of the Twins by a couple of games, and then all of a sudden their pitching, which has been great all year. Now, a lot of people probably know more than I do have said that, they got guys like Lugo and that are way over any innings they've ever pitched before. Okay. And then the whole collection of pitchers like that. That seems to have caught up to them. They were, a week ago, I was saying they're going to win the division. And I felt that way until all of a sudden they're giving up 10 runs a game. That's not going to work. So it was... all of a sudden the Twins are, they're not. You look at them and you say, one of the good things is we'll never have to see Manny Margot in the outfield for like 10 days for sure. He went on the DL. And I don't know what this guy they called up, Hellman, he's been a schlep over there. I guess they didn't want another left-handed hitter. That's why they called him up. And, instead of, I don't know what they were doing there. I think we all thought they were going to. Who's the other that Reusse, who's had a good year over there, but he's a left-handed hitting outfielder too. So
got a few of those.
I guess that the Buxtons had a rehab day yesterday, and they're off today there because they played Labor Day, and then he was going to play, supposedly join him in Kansas City on Friday if he stays healthy, and Correa we don't even talk about him coming back anymore. So, but
No.
at least they got Brooks Lee back. If he can get to the finish line, then they got the shortstop they need, and then you can play. The other thing is you can then play Castro in the outfield. So anyway, I don't know. They just when you just when you think they're getting really good, they go bad, and just when they go bad, you think they don't have a chance. They pop up and win a couple of games. So I don't know. The pitching, though, is oof. You start getting those short starts from their pitchers. And that was Zemelon wasn't real good the other day.
No, he got oh, yeah, what was that? I don't know,
seven runs in the first.
7 runs in the first. Not good.
Quick. Seven.
Yes. Yes. And they got it's still these 3 rookies, and yeah, you're right. Woods Richardson's been so good this year, but he was bad yesterday and has been kind of like it's been catching up to him. And so like I've said before, it puts so much pressure on those Bailey Ober and Pablo Lopez starts. And Lopez has been great. I mean, he's really, since All-Star break, really, he's been the pitcher you wanted him to be. And Ober, for the most part, he had that terrible outing against Atlanta, but he's been good. But and who else is there? Like if these rookies aren't getting it done, who would you potentially even turn to? That's
well, you can't. I mean, it's not the good old times when you could have, back when the trading deadline was middle August, you could have panicked a little, and back when you could have 40 players on your September roster instead of 28, you can only have 14 pitchers, So, there's nothing you can do. You can keep shuffling guys in but there's nobody in St. Paul. That Caleb Boshley, they call him up, and you think he might make a start, and then they release him again to make some.
Right.
That's the thing that when they release this guys. Although the other thing is, when you keep optioning these guys, unless somebody gets hurt, they're there for 15 days. So then you got to go schlep it in with somebody else. Who's got a chance to be an arm in the bullpen, though, I think, is that Henriquez, if he can start throwing strikes, because he's got pretty good stuff. So I don't know. I think it looks like they might make it, but they're not going to hang around long in the playoffs. Although, if Cleveland somehow would end up with the best record in the American League, because they're about tied for the lead with the Yankees now, everybody else, and then you might have a chance. 6 might have a chance to be 1, but if you play against the Yankees, you don't have to worry about how that one's going to come out. They're going to get hammered. So
the top two get a bye, though, right? So it's 6 versus.
That's right. Yeah, that's right. Yeah,
6, so 3, 4, 5.
Yeah, they'll play Cleveland. Yeah, if Cleveland ends up with the 3rd best record, they're playing them. Yes, I keep forgetting this goofy system that we have now. But yeah, I mean, they're hanging, I guess, just barely hanging. But as I said, having Brooks Lee back helps, I think, because I like him. So
would you? I mean, you'd have to, if let's say they get to the finish line as a wild card, which probably is that's still the most likely scenario based on, like you said, nobody is really on their heels right now. So let's say they get in as a wild card. Game 3 is like a bullpen game already, right?
Yeah,
how do you, or at least like a short start for, one of those rookies is on a very tight pitch count in a 3rd game already. So that's how quick it gets there.
Yeah, that's true. I think maybe they must be tempted to let Woods Richardson take a couple of starts off and see if they can refresh him. But you really don't have anybody else to pitch, so you gotta keep pushing them to the finish line. I guess Louis is gonna be here today, right? Isn't he?
I know one guy who's on a 5-year contract, Randy Dobnik. They could give him a starter too.
Yeah, bring back the Dauber. I wonder if the Dauber didn't get called back this time. What was wrong? Is he still?
I don't know.
Maybe he's 15 days weren't up yet. That could have been it too. Because when they sent him back, when did they send him back?
I can't remember.
Farland's supposed to be there today or tomorrow, right? He's supposed to, and then they're going to find out whether he's a reliever or a starter. But yeah, they don't have enough pitching. There's no doubt about that. So, but who does?
No, nobody does.
Yeah.
We think about Royce Lewis play. It was a little bit of a mini story within the Sunday game, right? That he played second base, and
He was not happy, and I
doesn't
don't
seem
blame
thrilled
him.
about it.
I don't blame him. He's never played over there. He's got all these injury problems, and it's going to the shortstop. He hasn't played shortstop. What?
Well,
Since the only place he
right.
played is third, right? And
Yes.
I just don't get why they're playing him at second. I know they're not happy with his throwing from third, but
Okay.
and it's not the old second base where they could come in and take you out and
No. Right.
ruin your career, running into crashing into your knee. But I still think it's a big change for a guy like him. That with all his injury risk, when he got to go to his right and then make the quick pivot and go back to and make the throwback. I think it's just quicker. It's harder work than the other side of the infield that he's impressed with, but he isn't quite the always optimistic clubhouse presence that we gave him credit for being. Rumors are, and I never heard it personally. I heard it from others that he was grousing when they didn't make a trade at the
Really?
deadline. And,
well, I was too. So,
well, I think I'm wondering if Correa's theory on when he'll play again has something to do with that too. So I'm not sure, but publicly he was well, that's fine. He's too good a PR guy to say anything directly, but he certainly is not in a hurry to come back. So
Correa, no, I think you got to imagine he'll be back in a couple of weeks, maybe. But the Lewis,
why he hasn't done anything with the foot? I mean, it's. And
because he loves he loves the postseason, and he'll feel like he can turn it on no matter what when the bright lights come on.
Well, he told he already basically told us that this foot is more
worse.
It's more difficult to treat it because it's his bad foot with the ankle, which is what caused the Giants and the Mets not to pay him.
Yeah,
so,
that's an too, because there's 4 more years of this contract after this year, right?
I know.
Guaranteed ones, yeah.
Scott, I almost wrote a column over the weekend about Scott Boris's taking on the entire orthopedic industry when we signed him when we signed Correa, and now Correa said, that foot's not that good, so I can't come back too soon. So
the other one's better, but neither one of them are that great right now, by the way.
Well,
do you think some of the Lewis grousing about second base is an ego thing too? Like, hey, why don't I get to play shortstop? Brooks Lee's played second. Why don't I get to play short? He played second for a little while.
I don't think he.
It's unfamiliarity more than anything.
Yeah, I think so. Okay. It's just it's a different place over there. So but again, it's not. You can't slide into him and knock him down. So it's not as dangerous as it used to be. But I don't know. I just don't think he's a natural over it. When you spent your whole career on the other side of the infield. Of course, we were going to make him a center fielder at one time, right?
We tried that.
Lasted 3 innings.
Tore his ACL again.
That wasn't good. But I think that they've done some stupid things lately, but they're still hanging in there. So some of their pitching decisions have driven me crazy, but I don't know. Stephen Okert's back though. He's over in St. Paul if we need him, so that's good. He cleared it through waivers. They still got one left-hander. Well, Theobar's the only left-hander in the entire roster. What's wrong with left? Why do they hate left-handers? Why are the Twins prejudiced against left-handers? That's what I want. No starters. They don't have any left-handers. Get some left-handers, you morons.
Yeah. When was the last time they had a left-handed starter?
Well, they have been a
while, right?
Keuchel for 5 or 6, but a guy who's been a regular member of the rotation, I don't know.
When was the last time they drafted and developed a lefty? I think all the guys that come up are righties, aren't they?
Yeah, they all are. This Prelep is their guy that they were looking for, but guess what? He had Tommy John or some version of Tommy John, some elbow surgery. I don't think it was the one where they put the brace in it instead of the full Tommy John, which means that because when he starts pitching again, then that could pop, and then he can have his Tommy John. So
Right.
so we might see him 4 or 5 years from now. So that'd be good. Anyway,
Pitching is so fragile these days. It's unbelievable. I don't know. I don't know what you do about it. We've talked about it, but it's just these guys. They're putting so much strain on their arms with the breaking balls and how fast they're throwing how hard they're throwing every pitch. It's just it doesn't feel sustainable. It's so much.
No, it's just that, I mean, look at Griffin Jacks, those pitches he throws. I mean, it's the movement on his pitches and the effort and everything it takes. And he's going to end up pitching in 70 games. And I mean, he's the best. He's been fantastic. But, sometime, I don't think he's had his Tommy John yet. So let's hope he hangs in there. And he's been great. And Durant seems to have jumped back a little bit here after he had a couple of bad games in a row. But you look at him, you know what he looks like? Tired. He doesn't look like tired. The old life is I mean, it's hard work for him right now because he's pitched so much.
Did he start the year on the injured list with the oblique that he had at the beginning of the year? And
he missed the first 2 weeks.
First few weeks,
3 weeks, 3 weeks.
So. He hasn't been quite as dominant this whole year, and I wonder if it kind of goes back to that. His velocity hasn't been, you say it's not been quite as good. He's still over 100 usually, but that's, for a guy like him, it's down a little bit. And we'll see if they can hang in. They got Kansas City this coming up weekend, and then they got the big Cleveland series about a week after that, right?
Yep.
It starts the 15th or something like that.
Bobby Witt just reached 30 home runs again. What man alive is he a good player down there? But the team around him is collapsing. So.
Yep. Well, we'll see if they get to the finish line. Vikings open the season in 5 days against the Giants. We'll see how that goes too. I don't have much optimism for the season. Giants are bad. Yeah, they could win that game. They could win that game, but I don't have a ton of optimism for this season.
I think their defense is going to be much better.
I agree with that. I think their offense is going to be bad.
Well, how can it be that bad with Jefferson and Addison hasn't gotten his suspension yet either, has he? Is he hurt? He's playing, isn't he?
He hurt the ankle in that joint practice with Cleveland. I don't know what his status is for week 1, but he's he has.
Let me say one thing from a guy out here in this side of town. The Park Tavern thing is one of the worst things I've ever seen in my life, and it's just incredible what occurred there. And the guy was clearly drunk. I don't think it was like somebody wanting to get revenge on anybody. The story I heard some stuff about it, and killed 2 people, injured others. Just a terrible situation we've had here in the Twin Cities.
Yeah, that was awful. I read about that over the weekend. I couldn't believe it. Because we were there not that long ago for Howard Sinker's retirement. That was the last time I've been there. His going away party. It was like a month or 2 ago.
The young lady with 3 kids who was a waitress there. Anyway, donate to that. I'm not a guy that's pleading with people to donate to stuff, but that would be something if you want to help out. That'd be something.
100%. Well, on that sad note, let's say goodbye for the day. But back at it next week, Patrick. I'll be back tomorrow too. Have a good one. We'll talk to you soon.
All right, sir. Thank you.